How's it going, guys? This is Mike from Casting and Crafting, and we're going to do a universal action camera mount for a kayak. Should work on any kayak, but that's what we're going to do. Didn't do much planning for this, so anything can happen. You're going to walk along with me, you're going to learn with me, but I think we can get it done. So we are going to work on that today, so stick around. Alright, so we're going to start off with some of the hardware that we're going to use or attempt to use. Again, there wasn't much planning, so this is what I think I'm going to be able to use. Being the biggest piece here is the ball mounting system from Scotty, which gives us a nice T-track here to mount to the kayak. Also gives us the ability to pivot and maneuver the mount in any way we want. I think it's going to be a pretty good fit for this. This was the most expensive part of this whole project. This was $35 on its own. There are cheaper solutions out there, but I think that this works really well. I think this will work really well. You know, you can buy a Railblaza kit, like action camera kit, but it is $70 for the whole kit. So even if this was the most expensive part here, you know, for $35-40, we're still saving a bit of money, about half the price of one of those, and I think it will be just as good. So we're gonna try it. We got a 45-degree elbow. This is all 3/4 inch CPVC. It's the yellow, it's like the cream colored stuff, not the white stuff. This fits really good inside this mount here. It's kind of a snug fit. We're gonna also try to take advantage of the locking mechanism that comes on this mount as well. Not sure how we're gonna pull that off, but we're gonna try something. So 45-degree elbow. We also have a 90-degree elbow so that we can get the camera straight up and down once we get it in position. We have this action camera adapter mount, which is the female side of it for a tripod mount. So we're going to attach that. We may even attach this permanently, you know, with epoxy or something like that. Haven't made up my mind on that one yet, but yeah, we've got that anyways. And we have the cap, you know, 3/4 inch cap, which we are going to try to drill a hole in the center of it, and then we're going to put the 1/4 inch screw through it, which we have 2 1/4 inch stainless steel screws and 2 stainless steel nylon locking nuts that we're going to try to drill a hole through the center. The screw's going to come up. It's going to be bolted into it with the nylon nut so that it doesn't move. You know, so that's one option. Then we'll screw this on top of it, or some action cameras have the female threaded insert in the base of the camera that we could just literally screw straight to the 1/4 inch bolt that we're going to put into this cap, and the cap will go right on the pole. In addition to this, on the table I do have 2 lengths of 5-foot CPVC pipe that we are going to cut down to size and use it where we see appropriate. We're going to start with the most obvious thing that we know we're going to have to do, and that's going to be drill the hole in the cap. Okay, we're going to have to drill the hole in the cap and put the bolt through, and let's get that piece of this project completed. I am going to use a 15/64 drill bit. I don't know if that can focus on that tiny print or not, but we're going to use it. It's just a size under 1/4 inch. We want to start off small. We want to maybe possibly thread the 1/4 inch bolt into the cap. That way it's more secure. So we're going to try that first. Now I've been pretty handy. You know, I do a lot of DIY stuff. I've been doing it for years, so But just about anybody can do this if they just have a basic set of tools and a little bit of know-how. I mean, it's not really complicated stuff. We're just going to try to drill this as center as possible. Put it just roughly in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll start off slow because that will help keep the bit from walking on us and moving locations, and then we'll go ahead and just drive it home. Okay. Plastic can be kind of hot because there's a lot of friction going on, and plastic tends to melt when it's being drilled. It's not exactly center, but it's close. It'll work for what we're doing. Yeah, and I think that we can just go ahead and have it thread itself on here. I think that'll work just fine. But we want to go ahead and start threading that in. I might need to get me let me go get me a socket and ratchet. Alright guys, let's see what size this is going to take. Look like a 7/16 would work. I got a deep well here. Let's see. A 12 is a little too big, so maybe 11 millimeter if you had metric, but standard would be 7/16. Just crank her down. Once you get it started, it should be pretty easy because it's done cut the threads into the plastic, so the rest of the bolt should go through pretty easily, and it'll actually tighten itself down pretty good, just like that. Okay, see, we're in good shape there. This is going to have to be cut down, obviously. So we will take this over to the vise and we'll work on that. All I'm going to do is just bolt that in there, and we want to clamp it down. We want to clamp it down on the edge, right about where we want to cut it at, because we want to use the vice's edge as a cutting guide. Will help keep things straight. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to thread this nut on here. That way when we cut it, we can back that nut off and we can clean up the threads from the cut. And we'll clamp that down. We can always take a little bit more off, I suppose, or grind it down. But it looks like these adapters are roughly just over 1/4 of an inch in depth. So, you know, just eyeballing it, there shouldn't be much coming out at all. So we'll clamp that down. We'll go ahead and work on cutting. We're just going to use a hacksaw, okay? And I'm going to use the vise. If you notice, I'm putting the blade up against the edge of the vise, and that's where I'm going to make my cut. I'm going to start off slow. Again, always start your stuff slow so that you can get your tools don't walk on you and change positions. Got to be pretty close. Yeah. Go ahead and break that off there. Now we're good. You see how short it is. You see the nut still on there. You got to be careful because a lot of friction on that, so it could be warm still. I'm going to reposition the camera so we can get back to our workbench here. We're going to go ahead and try to back this off, but I'm first going to just walk over here to the bench grinder, and I'm just going to take a little bit off and flatten the top of that off a little bit. And I'm not going to show that on camera because it'll only take me a couple seconds to do that. Alright guys, so I got that kind of flattened out now. Now we're going to back that nut off to clean up those threads so that we can easily thread on our adapter. And you can, as you're backing it off, you can actually feel it, you know, cleaning up the threads. Now it's really sharp on the end. I'm gonna grab a file and just kind of bevel the edge down a little bit. That way you don't end up getting cut on it, because it's pretty sharp right there. We're just gonna do this just right around the edge, the top edge of this. So you just get rid of the sharp edges. Last thing you want to do is get cut on it. Gotta be careful not to bugger up the threads too much. We'll go ahead and thread the bolt back on there too, to make sure we clean up the threads again. Probably should do this while the nut's still on there, truthfully, but I think in my situation right here, I think we're going to be okay. Yep, that threaded on okay. Not too bad, not too shabby. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just screw this on here and see how that fits. Fits real good. Yeah, it ain't coming off there. So that's basically what we're doing here. And it's a nice snug fit. I didn't have to epoxy it. Now I might come back later and epoxy that just to be on the safe side. But right now, just using my hands, I mean, that's a pretty tight fit. That's not coming off of there. You know, you can also put some Loctite on this to help secure the adapter on there. All right, so what's next? We need to determine the length of the pipe that we're going to want for the back mount on the kayak. The ball mount, the Scotty mount, that adds about, we'll say, probably 8 to 10 inches by itself, because we want a nice overhead view. Okay, we don't want to get a shot of just the back of my head. We want to be able to see above the head into the water in front of us, because you guys want to be able to catch all the action that's happening in front of us. Top water blowups, catching the fish, bringing the fish in, all that good stuff. That's what it's about. I think 3 feet will be plenty with the mount also. So effectively, you know, 3 feet plus 10 inches, you know, roughly 4 feet in height total. And it will be at an angle, so it's not quite like, it's not straight up 4 feet. What I'm going to use to cut it is going to be this multi-tool. Okay, it's a nice one. It's a Works. So I'm just going to put my thumb roughly about where I need to make the cut. Get a little spot started here. And then I'm just going to cut that piece off. Just like that. We'll need a piece of 12 inches. So let's do that. Let me plug in my tool. Like I said, guys, no planning. Okay, so we're kind of making it up as we go. There we go. We should have a 12-inch piece here, or roughly 12 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, but yeah, it's pretty close. Just a little over. Put that on the other end of the 90. So it's going to look like this. We got this piece here from the Scotty mount. You got about a 3-foot piece that goes to a 90, okay? And then the 90-degree piece is going to come up here. And this is where we're going to mount our cap for our GoPro. All right, so guys, this is the back of the kayak. So I think where I want to put the mount, I think it's going to be up here on this right side, right by the pole holder. I think it'd be a good spot. I also plan on putting a 12-volt adapter here to give constant power to the cameras. That will, you know, keep me from having to go through batteries. That install will be another video to add power to the kayak. One thing I didn't realize is that the Scotty mount did not come with stainless steel screws. I had some pad eye that I was able to steal some stainless steel screws from, but keep that in mind, you will probably need some stainless steel screws. We're going to use the same drill bit that we used on the cap to drill the pilot hole, the 3/32. We're going to use that to drill the pilot holes for our Scotty mount, okay? There's going to be 4 holes, 4 screws. Once everything's said and done, you want to pull those screws back out, put some silicone around the base of the Scotty mount, put the screws back in. I do recommend using a screwdriver. The goal here would be to drill 1 hole and put 1 screw in. That way the mount doesn't move on us and we can go ahead and finish drilling the rest of the holes, okay? Alright guys, I decided that I am going to use a hand driver to put this in for now. We're just going to snug that up a little bit, kind of get this into position where we want it. We're going to do the opposite corner. This drill bit's small enough that it's undersized, so as it's threading in, it's actually creating threads into the plastic, and it's given a nice seal, so it'll already have very minimal water intake. But the silicone is definitely a must. You don't want any water getting into it, and that's what the silicone's for. That will make it completely 100% waterproof. We're just going to put that down like that. We're going to go ahead and finish these holes off here, being sure to center the drill bit in the hole as best as possible. And again, starting off slow so that the bit doesn't walk on you. And that's all it takes, you know, it's not much to it. We're just going to dry fit everything, make sure everything's working. I will come back and silicone it up. That will be done off camera. We're just going to snug it down a little bit. We're just hand tight for now. Again, we're just dry fitting it. We want to make sure all of our ideas are coming together before we put anything in permanently. Get this piece on first, and then we'll put this piece on like that. Go ahead and crank that down a little bit, give it a little bit of tension, but that's what we're looking at. Move this around, put it where we want it. I think I'm going to shoot a screw into this. That's going to secure that lined up the way I want it lined up. Before I do that, and we're just going to drill a hole straight through this. This is going to keep it from wanting to fall out. I can tell that it's a little loose. Hopefully this works. So let's take a look at kind of the final product. We're definitely going to have to test some stuff out. I think most action camera mounts for kayaks are pretty bouncy. I mean, you are on a kayak, so I imagine that the camera stabilization is going to help with that a lot, but I'm going to run some tests and I'll show you the footage of the tests that I do to show you how well this one performs, specifically with the Akaso Brave 7 LEs. But you got the Scotty mount there, you know, it's mounted to the kayak. Put the screw in the head of the Scotty mount so that it can't be pulled out, and it can't twist. So it's kind of lined up where it needs to be. And it comes up here, and then it's kind of hanging up here. So ideally, this will work out. Now you can see how much movement's in it, but again, I don't know how big of a problem that's going to be. We'll figure it out, do some tests, and I'll show you guys what the results are. Alright guys, here we go. We're going to test this. This camera's on and recording, and I'm going to put a split screen of me bouncing it. You're going to see how much it bounces, and we're going to see how much it actually shows up on the camera. We're just going to start off lightly here. Give it a little bit more. And we're going to really give it hell. And we are going to see how bad it is. Alright guys, I appreciate you guys watching my video. Now we're just getting started and I'm still trying to figure out a lot of stuff, but I do appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. If you like what you're seeing and would like to see what else I'm doing, subscribe, like, and share my stuff. I'd really appreciate it.